because I'm good at solving wars. I'm good at making peace. I've solved 6 wars in the last 6 months, a little more than 6 months now. I solved, as you know, 8 wars. I solved 8 wars. I've solved 8 wars, and Thailand is starting to shape up. You know, they started with Cambodia, they started up again, but
On December 27th, Thailand and Cambodia signed a ceasefire agreement to end weeks of fighting over a long-standing border dispute. The two countries halted all of their military movements and airspace violations. This ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia held for 72 hours to repatriate 18 Cambodian soldiers who had been held as prisoners since earlier fighting in July of 2025. Their release has been a major demand of the Cambodian side. The icing on the cake is that U.S. President Donald Trump, who loves to boast about being a peacemaker, reiterated his war-solving skills through a social media post on X, where he also slammed the United Nations for being inactive on the Thailand-Cambodia conflict and others.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood.
The United States is known to be the largest donor to the United Nations. However, during his second term, President Trump reduced U.S. funding, withdrew from major agencies, and scaled back the country's involvement in UN initiatives.
It is vital to stay true to the bedrock of international law. It is essential to avoid any form of ethnic cleansing. We must reaffirm the two-state solution. Any durable peace will require tangible, irreversible, and permanent progress toward the two-state solution, an end to the occupation, and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with Gaza as an integral part. A viable sovereign Palestinian state living side by side in peace and security with Israel is the only sustainable solution for Middle East stability.
This raises a major concern about whether the UN will keep mum to keep the flow of U.S. funding active, or will the UN retaliate against Trump?